Okay, happy Monday, guys. Um, what we are going to talk a little about today is first things first, the midterm. I'm sorry if you guys tried to go in and take the midterm and it was password locked. And then some people were like, no, it's already closed. So I went back through, I took the password off. It is open. If you'd like to study for that, you can go over here to, oh, I guess my screen's not on for you guys to look at. Everyone else is seeing it, but not you. Um, if you go over here to the announcements tab and you scroll down, it says midterm review right here. You can copy, paste that right into the web page or the browser link URL thing, and you can either play the Kahoot with yourself or with one of your friends, or you can just go through and just kind of review like this. So interviews share characteristics with all of these things. Or there are always two parties in an interview, correct. You can definitely have more than two people, but you only ever have two parties, which is an interviewing party and then an interviewer party, so on and so forth. So you can go through and just review this, but everything that you probably need to know on the midterm is in here. So there's that. And then I have had some people ask me about this interviewing format analysis, which is your next assignment that is coming up. So it was due originally like last week, but I have extended that until the 25th. So this coming Sunday. But it's a two-part assignment. So you are choosing 3 different interviewing formats to analyze. So this is a kind of a callback to chapter 1. So different interviewing formats. So that might be, a group interview or a panel interview, a telephone interview, a focus group. So you're going to pick 3 of those styles to analyze. And then you're going to say, okay, if we're doing, a group interview, why are group interviews interesting to you? Maybe it just really kind of blows your mind that to get a job, you have to sit in a room with 4 other people who are applying for the same job, and they expect you to do well in that. Because what if someone answers the question that they ask exactly the way that you wanted to? It doesn't really look good to just be like, oh yeah, I agree with Nathan over there. You'd be like, crap, what do I have to do to fix that or say it better than he did? What situation or context does this work best in? Group interviews, they're okay for job stuff. People tend to do them, but is there maybe a better situation to do a group interview in? Maybe journalistic style, maybe focus group style, which I guess is technically probably a group interview to an extent. Is it better suited to traditional or non-traditional ways? So if you're doing like a recruiting interview, a lot of the times that might be better in person, so you can kind of get a feel for who you're talking with. But nowadays, a lot of them are virtual just because of everything that's been happening over the past year. Would it be best as a non-scheduled, moderately or highly scheduled standardized? If you're talking about a group interview in a research context, you'll probably have to do highly scheduled, standardized, or highly scheduled. So you ask the same questions in the same way to all of these different people so that you can collect data on it. And then which sequence, we didn't really talk too much about question sequences. So you might just have to go back and go over that, because that was like that tunnel sequence where you had open, closed questions, or like the funnel where you went from open questions down to closed questions, or the hourglass where you did open, closed to open. So, and then from those 3, you will pick one of those formats to conduct a mock interview in. So if Nathan is writing about, a panel interview for a job, he is going to get together a panel of people. So maybe he just gets together some of his friends and say, we're going to conduct a mock interview, and we're going to interview Brian. So maybe Nathan gets Maddie and me and someone else from the class. And we come up with some job interview questions for Brian. And then we're going to conduct that panel interview. So this one you don't have to record. You will have to turn in the questions that you ask. What's up?
Is this the interview you're talking about? Is that the one for the boss?
No, this one's a different one. This one is leading up to that one. Okay. So this is just getting you more interview practice. But this is helping you practice interview other people, because at the end of a job interview, it's really good practice to ask the interviewer some questions. So this is just more practice. How do we ask questions? So after you get done with the interview, so if Nathan's doing his panel interview with whoever else is on the panel and Brian as the interviewee, what kind of relational dimensions were in there? So did you guys use similarity to bond and build rapport? Did you guys both feel like you included each other and were you asking good questions, and how do you think Brian felt about that? Who had the most control in the interview? Did do you think that your interviewee trusted you enough to answer honestly? And these don't have to be like super long, one paragraph per thing. It's just like one sentence, like, we used this thing in this way. Which type of approach did you take? Did you take directive where you had more control and you directed the interview? Or did you let Brian have more control and took a more non-directive approach, and why? Maybe he's a really, really talkative interviewee and you're like, that's great, I'll let him kind of lead where it goes and I'm just gonna follow along and maybe bring us back on topic as needed. Or maybe you're interviewing someone who doesn't really like to talk that much and you have to be more directive to try to keep things going and keep things flowing. Which type of questions? So did you use more open or closed questions, and why? How did you open and close the interview? Did you just walk in there and just sit down and say, hi, my name is Kylie. We're going to be doing an interview today about this. Are you ready? Boom, great, let's get started. Or did you take some more time to build a rapport? That'll just depend on the type of interview that you do for this. And then what are 3 different things that you can improve for next time? And I know this really sounds like a lot, but if you once you've broken it down into this first part with your 3 different types of interviews, then the second half will go pretty smoothly, as long as you've been keeping up with the videos that we've been doing. If you have not, then you might have a little bit of trouble if you've been missing out on the lecture part of this class. And a lot of this stuff you can just you can look it up too, and you'll have a lot of good information, because there is a lot of good information out there about interviewing, both as an interviewee sitting down to talk to someone, or I guess get talked to, and as an interviewer who is conducting this interaction. So do you guys have any questions about this as of now? Because I know I've gotten quite a few emails about this. But just make sure that you look at the rubric, because if you notice, you can get a C by meeting the standard by doing 7 questions. So if you want to go above and beyond, to get an A, you have to go above and beyond. I might extend the day for this a little bit longer, because it does take time to find someone who you want to do a mock interview with. But it doesn't have to be anyone super fancy or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be someone professional. You could literally go over to your friend's house and say, hey, I'm going to conduct a mock journalistic style interview with you, or a mock job interview. Your roommate, one of your friends. It's just getting you down and practicing. So can we sit down, put on our serious face, and do this. Yeah, but I'll probably end up giving you guys a couple extra days, depending on how many emails I get being like, oh, I need more time. So, because it definitely happens.
So, are we just sending in a video once we practice with someone?
You don't have to send in a video for this one. You don't have to record it. So you're turning in 15 questions for part 1, because you have to answer 5 questions for 3 different interviewing formats. And then for the second one, you're choosing the type of the interview, one of the types of interviews that you did, and actually conducting an interview. You're writing 7 questions and turning those in, and then answering these questions after the interview. So you have 15 questions to answer, 7 questions to write, and then an additional 5. So.
Any questions about anything in your university?
Yeah, as long as they're on a single topic. So if you want to do a traditional face-to-face job interview, then there'll be 7 job-related questions. So, okay. If there's no more questions on that, then I will stop this recording and then start the next one here in a sec.